Hi, I'm Elaine Harding. Welcome to my blog at stampwithelaine.com. Where's March gone? Before I knew it, it was Mothering Sunday on the horizon, and I'd overlooked prepping a Mother's Day card. So I've had to reshuffle my schedule and squeeze this in. Back in January, I covered how to assemble the tulips. I'd used all the other dies except for this long tulip one, and I promised that I'd come back and revisit it. This is from the Flowering Fields suite, and there are two bundles in the suite. There's one with fields with the windmill, and this one, Flowering Tulips, concentrates on the tulips. You'll find it on pages 14 to 17 in the January to June 2022 mini. Back in January, I showed you how to build the tulips using the other dies. So today, we're going to be making this card so I can showcase how to use this die. This is the bundle, the Flowering Tulips and the Tulips dies. So I'll put a link to my blog post for today's video, and in the blog post there will be a link to the previous tutorial I did on building the tulip dies. This is the paper from the Flowering Fields Designer Series paper. These are 12 by 12 inch sheets. There are two double-sided designs of each. We're going to be using this one because it looks like clouds. The Flowering Fields, you need a piece cut at 3 5/8 by 5 3/8. In metric, that will be 9 centimeters by 13.5 centimeters. For the matte layers, you need two pieces in basic white, one for the card front and one for inside the card. And these measure 3 3/4 inches by 5.5. In metric, that will be 9.5 by 14 centimeters. The card base is in Calypso Coral, and this has been cut at 4 1/8 by 11 3/4 and folded in half. In metric, this will be 10.5 by 29 centimeters and folded in half. You also need scraps of basic white to die cut 2 rows of tulips, and a scrap of basic white to stamp your flower for inside the card, and also a scrap of Calypso Coral to punch out the cloud. Calypso Coral ink, Versamark ink, and uninked ink pad with the Whisper White Craft ink refill. In the old days, we used to have a Whisper White craft ink pad, so that's the one I'm going to be using. But today, this is the updated version. One more ink I forgot is Mango Melody for the flower center. You also need white embossing powder, and this is available as a pack of 3 in black, clear and white, but we'll be using the white one. The cloud punch and some rhinestone basic jewels. I'm going to punch cloud out, bring in my Stamparatus, and I'll use this as my template, and I've reinserted the cloud in there and stamp that in Versamark. Sprinkle it with embossing powder. And heat emboss it. Bring in my white craft ink, and I'm just going to brush it onto the white craft ink pad, and then set it aside to leave it to dry. I can never remember which stamp is which, so what I'll do, ink it up and then stamp off. So I'll use a sheet of paper and just take off some of that pink and stamp, and do the same with this side. Take it off and stamp. Then I can see which one should be the accent colour. It's this one here. So I'll stamp that at full strength. Use this stamp to stamp inside the flower. So now I'm ready to die cut my pieces, and so I'll die cut this first. And the cutting sandwich is platform 1, platform 2, the thin die adapter, one of the platform 3s, your cardstock die cutting edge face down, and then the second platform 3, and you're ready to run it through the machine. So I'll do that off camera and I'll be back. So there are my die cut pieces, and set that aside, and then we want to colour it. Use the brush end of your dark Calypso marker pen, and you want to just colour. So I'm going to put my post-it note on the just at the bottom of the flower so I don't colour the stem. Come back with a light Calypso coral and then just fill in the rest. Then I'll use the bullet end to do the stems, and I'm going to draw from the bottom of the flower toward this bit here. Use the brush end and lay it flat, and then just try and go in one long stroke. Then I'm going to adhere this piece onto this piece here, but slightly stagger them. I forgot to press record. I put adhesive on the back and I've stuck them together slightly offset so that the piece at the back acts like a shadow piece. So now I want to adhere this to the patterned paper. Pop some adhesive on the back and have it go flush with the base of the designer series paper. Now I won't bother to glue the tops of the flowers down because I want some movement in it, and so before you stick it onto the matte layer on your card front, just trim this excess off. You might want to anchor one or two of the ones in basic white. But you can leave the layer on top that's been coloured free. Now you can glue this piece onto your card front, your matte layer. And then glue this onto your actual card base. Then adhere this piece of scrap designer series paper inside the card insert. And trim off the excess. Adhere the flower to the inside, like so. your rhinestones in. I'm going to omit a sentiment in here. I might use it for something else, but that's how you do the sentiment for the Mother's Day card. I've already got one. I've only got one mum, so I don't want to do another one, but you get the idea, don't you? So last thing to do is Wink of Stella. Because I haven't glued this front piece down, I'm just going to slip the scrap piece of paper on and colour in the tops of the flowers with Wink of Stella. Before I go, here's another one I did with the other cloud-like paper, and this time what I did was I cut one in Calypso Coral, cut one in Evening Evergreen, and then a shadow piece in Basic White, and then I just snipped off the heads of the tulips and adhered it to the Evening Evergreen piece. So that's one way of doing it. And there's another stamp set that has the American Happy Mom Day instead of Happy Mother's Day, and I just used a black marker pen, drew some birds in flight. This comes from the Happy and Heartfelt set. I put Tombow glue on the back and let it dry. It goes clear when it dries, and it acts like a post-it note, so then you can stick it down or remove it if you wish. But I wanted to leave that blank so you can use it for any occasion, and this one you could put congratulations on there, for instance. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. I'll put the link into my blog post so that you can see the other video I did on assembling the tulips. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with more inspiration next time. Bye.